Welcome back to Daniel 11:33, the most exciting Bible study on YouTube. There was an article written on the 14th of July, and it includes Joe Biden's trip to Israel. Joe Biden has found himself right in the middle of Bible prophecy. Do you know what that is? Well, we're going to talk about it today. Let's find out. We are in some exciting times. Bible prophecy is being fulfilled. It seems like every day something's in the news that relates to what God has written. There was an article dated 14 July of 2022, and it was from whitehouse.org. Yes, you can go to whitehouse.org and read this article. The article headline is "The Jerusalem U.S. Israel Strategic Partnership Joint Declaration." Let's find out what that's all about and how it relates to Bible prophecy. Oh man, this is exciting. So, quoting from the article, "The United States and Israel reaffirm the unbreakable bonds between our two countries and the enduring commitment of the United States to Israel's security. Our countries further reaffirm that the strategic U.S.-Israel partnership is based on a bedrock of shared values, shared interests, and true friendship." Okay, reaffirm. Reaffirm. That means that there was already an agreement with Israel and the United States. There was already an agreement. Let's look at what that agreement was saying. The United States and Israel announced agreement on a memorandum of understanding today to strengthen their strategic cooperation against threats to the Middle East caused by the Soviet Union or Soviet-controlled forces from outside the region. The accord, which does not require Senate approval, was signed today after a meeting at the Pentagon between Defense Secretary Casper W. Weinberger and Israel's Defense Minister Ariel Sharon. A joint statement said the agreement is designed to enable the two countries to act cooperatively to provide each other military assistance to cope with threats to the security of the entire region caused by the USSR or Soviet-controlled forces introduced from outside the region into the region. Now, they already had an agreement. Israel and the United States has been in alliance for quite some time. But wait a minute. It said on here, it does not require Senate approval. So if anyone is thinking about Iran moving in to cause conflict with Israel, you best believe that the United States is going to show up, and they do not need Senate approval. The article also talked about unbreakable bonds. The U.S. has used veto power more than any other permanent member to block decisions that it regards as detrimental to the interests of Israel. On May 14, 1948, David Ben-Gurion, the head of the Jewish agency, he proclaimed the establishment of the State of Israel, and U.S. President Truman at the time, in 1948, recognized the nation of Israel on the exact same day. The exact same day. That's how long we have been in alliance with Israel. The article also talked about enduring commitment to Israel's security. Revelation 12, verse 14 tells us that Israel will be protected by the wings of an eagle for 3.5 years. I wonder who that eagle is. Do you have any idea who that eagle would be? There's only one eagle in this entire world that has the power, has the resources, and the relationship. That would be the one that is spoken of in Revelation 12, verse 14. Remember, the eagle came out of Daniel chapter 7. The eagle came out of Daniel chapter 7, verse 4. The wings were plucked out of the lion, and it was stood up on its own 2 feet, and a man's heart was given to it. Remember that? And then in Revelation 13, those same beasts in Revelation 7, they come together, and now they are collectively. They were individual in Daniel 7. But in Revelation 13, they were unified. They became one. But the eagle's wings was not a part of that. The eagle's wings became independent. Y'all better listen. Y'all better read this Bible and see what's going on. Let's continue with the article. It says, consistent with the long-standing security relationship between the United States and Israel and the unshakable U.S. commitment to Israel's security, and especially to the maintenance of its qualitative military edge, the United States reiterates its steadfast commitment to preserve and strengthen Israel's capability to deter its enemies and to defend itself by itself against any threat or combination of threats. Unshakable U.S. commitment. This relationship will only get stronger. It has to, because Revelation 12, verse 14 hasn't happened yet. Revelation 12, verse 14 will happen. This relationship is only going to get stronger. The article continues. The United States stresses that integral to this pledge is the commitment never to allow Iran to acquire a nuclear weapon, and that it is prepared to use all elements of its national power to ensure that outcome. Did y'all see? Listen, y'all know Iran is a threat. Iran is a threat to Israel. They have been trying to get this nuclear weapon so that they can do whatever it is they want to do to Israel. Israel understands that it can't happen, and the United States understands that it can't happen. How do we know? Because it just tells us right here. It says that the United States is prepared to use all elements of its national power to ensure the outcome. That Iran would never acquire a nuclear weapon. Y'all better pay attention to what's going on. Let's continue. Continuing on. It says the United States and Israel affirm that they will continue to work together to combat all efforts to boycott or delegitimize Israel, to deny its right to self-defense, or to unfairly single it out in any forum, including at the United Nations or the International Criminal Court. The United States is ready to defend Israel at any level. Did y'all read that? Are y'all reading this article? It says right here, in any forum, including at the UN, the United Nations, or the International Criminal Court. Those are the two world entities that are trying to control the world and bring the world together so that we have a one world government system. And Joe Biden, a pro-globalist, is saying, regardless of what the United Nations is saying, regardless of what the ICC is saying, we are going to combat all efforts to boycott. Are y'all looking at this? This is great news for us, because as long as this continues, we know that the United States is not going to give up their sovereignty and be a part of this one world government system that is forming right now. Continuing on with the article, the United States and Israel commit to continuing to discuss the challenges and opportunities in Israeli-Palestinian relations. President Biden reaffirms his long-standing and consistent support of a two-state solution and for advancing toward a reality in which Israelis and Palestinians alike can enjoy equal measures of security, freedom, and prosperity. There is a two-state solution. President Clinton talked about a two-state solution. I remember he was talking amongst international leaders, and his solution was, he says, let's just share it. Well, we know Matthew 24 talks about a shared Jerusalem. Matthew 24, there will be a two-state solution. We know that the Palestinians will have their statehood, and we know that the Jews are going to continue to have their statehood, and it's going to be a shared arrangement. The West Bank or Judea will be the Palestinian state, which is now controlled by Israel. So when this peace agreement comes forth, it is going to outline a two-state, it's going to outline a two-state solution. It is written, and that is what mankind is moving toward right now. I know some of y'all don't believe what we're talking about, but it's okay. It's okay. Woo! It's okay. That's written. The two-state, read Matthew 24. What did Jesus tell them in Matthew 24? He told them, don't go back. If the Jews are still controlling the West Bank or Judea, why did Jesus tell us? He says, in those days, the tribulation, he says, when the abomination of desolation occurs, he says, do not go back to your home. He says, flee. Do not go into Judea or the West Bank. He says, flee to the mountains. It's going to, y'all understand, the Jews will not control the West Bank. It will be a Palestinian state. And guess who's going to be controlled by the Palestinians? Or guess who's going to control the Palestinians? The Antichrist. The Antichrist is going to control and rule the world. But we know he won't control the United States. And we know he does not control the Jews or Israel, because he makes war with them and he makes war with the saints. The United States and Israel warmly welcomes entering the 75th year of this extraordinary partnership. This partnership has been going on strong from the very beginning. 75 years. 75 years. So when Israel became a nation in 1948, they applied, they had their blessings, and just 11 minutes in, 11 minutes in, the President of the United States showed his support just 11 minutes in. That's how long we have been supporting Israel. We support them militarily. We support them at the United Nations with veto power. We have used our veto power 42 times to protect Israel from all the other nations, including the UN, that has been trying to cause harm or cause some type of dissension or anything that's going on at the UN. The United States has used their veto power 42 times in support of Israel. Bible prophecy is moving forward, whether you believe it or not. It's written in the scriptures, and now it's being written in our news. What's next? I don't know. But believe me, I am going to be reading and paying attention to every article out of the Jerusalem Post. I'm going to pay attention to the White House news. I'm just going to be paying attention to the news. And I will share that news with you. Join me next week as we continue to watch Bible prophecy unfold in our news, because God's news has already been written. So let's line it up. See y'all next time.